Formula One may be one of the cruelest sports in the world, and it'll shoot down even the most talented at the first wince of weakness. In the wake of the 2020 season, Alex Albon, Romain Grosjean, and Kevin Magnussen are the latest in the long lineage of unfortunates to be lining up outside Centrelink. However, their immediate futures are looking pretty bright, and for two of them, their immediate futures are looking American. Turns out, F1 credentials can get you pretty far in life. Today, I'll be taking you through what life after F1 looks like for these three in 2021. We start off with K-Mag, the first of the trio to land on his feet. After being fired from the Haas F1 team, the 2014 Australian Grand Prix podium scorer is following in the footsteps of his father Jan and doing some sports car racing in the US. Magnussen will be contesting the DPI class in the IMSA Weathertech Sportscar Championship with none other than Chip Ganassi Racing. For my European fans who may not have heard of these guys, there are basically two big racing teams in the US. And Chip Ganassi is one of them. Magnussen is being paired with Renger van der Zande for the full season, with Scott Dixon most likely joining them for the rest of the endurance rounds in the number 01 Cadillac DPI. Magnussen's sports car career has gotten off to a reasonably good start. At the Rolex 24 at Daytona, Magnussen and the 01 team were contenders for the win for most of the race. In fact, it actually came down to the last few laps, but a tyre blowout forced them out of second place and relegated them down to 5th, costing them what could have been a win. Still, if that strong showing is anything to go by, watch out for them for the rest of the IMSA WeatherTech Sportscar Championship season and indeed the next race at the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. Furthermore, it was announced while I was actually sat down to write this script that Magnussen would be joining the Peugeot WEC hypercar lineup for their debut season in 2022. He will be joining what I assume will be a two-car lineup consisting of James Rossiter, Mikkel Jensen, Jean-Eric Verne, Loic Duval, Paul di Resta, and Gustavo Menezes. What a lineup! He does have an enormous reputation to live up to though. While he may not have been particularly successful in Formula 1, Jan Magnussen won his class at Le Mans 4 times with Corvette, as well as a further class win with the American mark at the Rolex 24. He is also a two-time IMSA GTLM champion. I'm sure he'll step up to the plate though, and I'd say life is pretty good for K-Mag. He's certainly got a few prospects on the go. Romain Grosjean certainly ended his F1 career with a bang. There's absolutely no way I'm getting away with that one, am I?
Well, Jack, at least I thought it was funny, mate. But yes, speaking of the hottest property coming out of Formula 1 in 2020, Romain Grosjean will actually be driving in the premier single-seater division in the USA, IndyCar. And Romain will be following in the footsteps of many ex-Formula 1 drivers, such as Marcus Ericsson, Sebastian Bourdais, or Alexander Rossi. And he will be racing for the Dale Coyne Racing with Rick Ware Racing, number 51 car, a name which rolls right off the tongue. Definitely didn't have to do that take about 5 times. Now, there isn't actually a Constructors' Championship in IndyCar, but the team did do pretty well in 2020 and can be considered to be a sort of mid-pack team, but in IndyCar there is a far higher likelihood of a midfield team scoring a podium or even a win than in Formula 1. And back in 2020, the team had Santino Ferrucci and Alex Palou in the hot seat, with Santino finishing in 13th in the standings on 290 points, and Alex finishing just behind him in 16th in the standings on 238 points. So it seems from these previous results of the team that Romain will certainly be in contention for some solid points throughout next year. And how awesome would it be to see him back on a podium? It would be absolutely splendid. But, and it's a big but, Romain's IndyCar campaign was thrown up in the air thanks to his crash at Bahrain last year. Now at that time, he'd already signed the contract to race in IndyCar, but in the blink of an eye, it seemed like he might never race again, full stop. Of course, Romain was indeed very, very lucky with the injuries that he managed to sustain. He didn't die from the accident, thank God, but such a near-death experience does change a man. and Romain decided that he would only race on the road courses and the street circuits, as it is the high-speed ovals which have the highest likelihood of death, with the most recent being, of course, Justin Wilson in 2015, not even that long ago, so I think that's a completely fair decision to make from Romain. So although in 2020 we were once again reminded of the tough reality that motorsport is such a dangerous form of sport, in 2021 I believe Romain can bounce back better than ever, and I'm wishing him all the best to do so. Now I'll hand it straight back to Jack.
Thank you, MotoMeerkat. Link to his channel in the description below. Definitely recommend checking his stuff out. With that, we move on to the final driver we'll be covering today. My apologies to any hermits who may have just crawled out from under their rock for the first time since 2019. And my goodness, you do have a lot to catch up on, but none of what I'm about to say is about to make sense to you. As 2020 wore on, Alex Albon's place at the top Red Bull team came further and further into question. The final nail in the coffin coming with Sergio Perez's victory at the Sakir Grand Prix. It seemed as though he was just going to be yet another driver that the Red Bull program has chewed up and unfortunately spit out. However, Red Bull have recently announced their latest new venture in motorsport. 2021 is the inaugural season of the GT3 Plus formula being used in DTM after the Class 1 regs finally collapsed in on itself after Audi's departure. Red Bull will be joining forces with the very successful Ferrari GT team, AF Corsa, running two Ferrari 488 GT3 Evos upgraded to the GT3 Plus spec this season. This also marks Red Bull's return to DTM, as they last sponsored Matthias Ekstrom, Antonio Felix da Costa, and Marco Whitman in 2017. Alex Albon and quick Kiwi Nick Cassidy will be sharing the AlphaTauri sponsored car. If you don't know who Nick Cassidy is, I actually made a video on him recently and I think it's worth a watch. The other Red Bull sponsored car will be driven by Red Bull's other fast Kiwi, Liam Lawson, who will also be participating in Formula 2 this year. Now you may be wondering exactly why Cassidy and Albon are sharing a car. The reason for that is that Cassidy will be running the events that clash with Formula 1 races, as Albon is still Red Bull's test and reserve driver and is required to be at those Grand Prix weekends, which is a shame really. It's not enough that Red Bull have gone and fired him, now they're stopping him from racing full-time in the one other series he's actually involved in. Anyway, I suppose it's a positive that he's doing something. Personally, I love how nonsensical this story would seem to anyone who's not been paying attention for the last couple of years, or to anyone who so happens to be from the past. Alex Albon driving an AF Corsa Ferrari GT3 car in DTM with sponsorship from Red Bull, and no less Red Bull's clothing brand. So as it turns out, just because you're down and out in Formula 1, it doesn't mean you're down and out in motorsport. In fact, I'm very happy for these drivers. Instead of pursuing dead-end career paths in Formula 1, Albon, Grosjean and Magnussen will have a genuine shot at success in their new racing homes. But what do you think? Do you think they've taken the right career paths? Do you think they should have done something else? What do you think? Put it all in the comments below. I do actually read them all, so you may as well say something, and I will most likely respond to you. All the socials are in the description below, including the TCR Instagram, Twitter, and Discord server, as well as my own personal Twitter. Please go check those links out if you haven't already done so. Anyway, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.